The black limousine door clicked shut, sealing off the noise of the city. Eleanor Chase, the billionaire CEO known for her icy calm and ruthless boardroom victories, pulled off her sunglasses and let out a sigh. Another 14-hour day of meetings, negotiations, and investors telling her how to run her own empire. She was tired, she was stressed, and for once, she just wanted silence. But before she could lean back, the driver didn't turn toward her penthouse. Instead, the car door opened again, and a man slid in. A stranger. His hair was messy, his clothes worn, and in his arms he cradled a little girl fast asleep, her tiny head buried against his chest. The man looked up, and for the first time in her life, someone didn't flinch at recognizing Eleanor Chase. Instead, he frowned. "Shut up," he whispered harshly. Eleanor blinked, stunned. No one in years had spoken to her like that. Her mouth opened, ready to unleash the kind of fury that terrified entire corporations, but then she saw it. The little girl. Her lashes fluttered, her breathing shallow. She looked frail, too frail, like she was fighting a battle her small body wasn't prepared for. Eleanor froze. The man's whisper softened, almost breaking. "Please." She finally fell asleep. She hasn't slept in days. The pain, it keeps her awake. If she wakes now, it'll start all over again. For the first time in years, Eleanor didn't know what to say. The car began to move. The driver glanced nervously in the mirror but said nothing. Eleanor sat, rigid, her mind racing. Who was this man? Why was he in her car? And why did his desperation feel like a mirror she hadn't looked into in decades? "Where are we going?" she asked finally, her voice lower than usual. "The hospital," he whispered, stroking his daughter's hair. They said they might turn us away again. I don't have the money. Insurance denied us. I begged for a ride, and your driver, he saw me. He said this was your car, but I begged him. Begged him to just let me in. Just for tonight. Just for her." The words hit Eleanor like a storm. She remembered being a child, clutching her mother's hand outside a clinic, listening as doctors turned them away because they couldn't pay. Her mother's tears. The helplessness. The promise Eleanor had made that day, never again. And yet, she had built walls of steel around herself, convinced money was the only shield against pain. Until this man, this stranger, told her to shut up, to protect a little girl's sleep. When the car stopped at the hospital, the father looked at her once more. "I'm sorry for how I spoke. She's all I have. I can lose everything else, but not her." His eyes glistened, but his jaw was firm. A soldier's resolve, Eleanor realized. A single dad, carrying the world on his shoulders. Eleanor stepped out of the car with them. At the hospital desk, as expected, the nurse shook her head. Without insurance, Eleanor's voice sliced through the air, sharper than the contracts she signed. "Put it on my account." The nurse blinked. "Ma'am. You heard me. Every treatment she needs. Every test. Every night of rest. Bill it to Chase Industries." The father stared at her, stunned. His lips parted, searching for words, but none came. That night, Eleanor stayed. She watched as the doctors gently carried the little girl, as the father finally sat down, exhausted, his face buried in his hands. She placed a hand on his shoulder, not as a CEO, not as a billionaire, but as someone who knew the pain of almost losing everything. Weeks later, the little girl was smiling again, playing with dolls in the hospital garden. The father approached Eleanor, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't know how to thank you. You saved her life." Eleanor shook her head. "No. You did. You carried her, you fought for her, you refused to give up. I finally remembered who I used to be." For the first time in years, Eleanor smiled. Not the polished smile she wore for cameras, but a real one. The father laughed softly. You know, you really didn't shut up at all. And Eleanor laughed too. From that day forward, Chase Industries launched a foundation, free treatment for children whose families had been denied care. It was the single act of kindness from a desperate single dad that tore down the wall around a billionaire's heart. And somewhere in that hospital garden, under the bright sun, Eleanor whispered a silent thank you, to a little girl who slept through it all, and to a father brave enough to say the one word that changed everything: shut up.